So I want to tell you a brief story about finding one's brand. A client of mine, Tyrone, this was a really awesome story. He had this long-term goal of getting on Broadway, and we wound up working together for one-on-one consulting, and I was helping him with getting clear on his brand. It was one of our first phone calls, I think even potentially our first. We may have done it in person. And I remember we were talking about specific roles that Tyrone would love to play, and we're also talking about some of the stuff that he was doing that he didn't really feel that much of a connection to, like certain, law enforcement roles and stuff, and playing this like strong, intense character that almost in some cases came across as mean. And I could tell, Tyrone, his personality didn't really mesh perfectly with that. Yes, he's strong and powerful and all that, but he's not a mean person. He's extremely caring, and he's one of the most, I don't know, he's just like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But we were talking about his brand and looking at the different types of characters that he could play. And I remember how he had told me about the previous brand that he had, which was a strong, burly law enforcement detective type, and how he was saying that, it worked for him, but he just wasn't really booking that many roles. Well, I took him through this branding process, which I'm about to take you through, by asking him a series of questions, 9 key steps, and it was so cool. I remember once we finished, there were 3 words that he came out with, which were, strength, compassion, and pride. And we added the word African American to it as well, just to kind of make him even more connected. So African American strength, compassion, and pride. And when we found those words, he instantly, he was like, oh my gosh, it was so cool to see his reaction. And what he did with that was, over the course of the next couple of weeks, all the auditions that he went to, and even his own website and marketing materials and stuff, we reshot his headshot thinking of those 3 words, and we captured something that just looked fantastic compared to his original shot, which was more intense versus something more powerful, strong, but compassionate at the same time. And when he would go to his auditions, he would think of those 3 words in his head: African American strength, compassion, and pride. And he'd feel each one and go through it. And the second he walked into the audition room, it was just he had no fear. He had no nervousness anymore. It was just he felt so at one and connected to the character that he was going to be. He was so grounded that he was just knocking every single audition out of the park. And within less than a month of us finding that brand, he booked his first role on Broadway, playing a character that's totally connected to his brand, which is King Agnar in the Disney Frozen musical. And that king, strength, compassion, and pride, it connected with him so deeply that he has been on an upswing ever since. He went on to book a big HBO show, and he's been doing a lot more stuff. He found a really great agent. All of this just based on these 3 words. Of course, he got very clear on his goals. Why even have a brand? What is the point? Won't branding myself and finding my specific type and all this kind of box me in, or kind of stop me from being able to go to as many auditions as I can? Well, here's the thing. Nobody wants anyone who's generic. Think about it this way, okay? Have you ever gotten a headshot taken, right? Have you ever gone to a photographer for a headshot who specializes, let's say, in weddings? Maybe you haven't, maybe you have. If you go to a wedding photographer to get your headshot done, how good do you think that headshot is going to be versus if you go to a headshot photographer to get your headshot done, right? Would you want to hire someone who shoots architecture and real estate and portraits and modeling photos and landscapes and also weddings? Would you want to hire that person to shoot your wedding? If they're charging like $2,000 or $3,000, would you want to pay them, or would you want to hire someone who very specifically specializes in weddings and maybe even pay them $3,000 or $4,000, slightly more than the other person? Most people, unless they're on an extremely tight budget and that photographer who does everything is charging dirt cheap, most people want someone who's going to give them better quality. And it's naturally assumed that if you specialize in one thing, you're going to give better quality there. So like me, I don't teach people how to cook food, and I don't teach people how to, raise a kid. And I just specialize in how actors and certain other people can market themselves and move their careers forward. So do not try to appeal to everyone. If you try to constantly change your brand and do different things every time that you're going out for auditions, it's going to show. You're never going to come off as good as you would if you just focus on the stuff that's right for you.